But Dave, let's move on. Let's talk about some Cleveland Cavalier news. And I know what you guys might be thinking. Guys, LeBron's not there. What is there possibly that needs to be talked about
Not much.
in Cleveland? But it seems like the city of Cleveland, just as a whole, is all about firing their head coaches, Dave. Because you got the Browns, they go ahead and fire Hugh Jackson. Well, the Cavaliers, I think, did it before the Hugh Jackson firing. They fired Tyronn Lue this week.
Yeah.
Tyronn Lue no longer with the team after an 0-6 start. Here's the first thing I want to ask you. What do you think about it? What do you think about Tyronn Lue getting axed after an 0-6 start to the season?
I don't really see the point in it. Honestly, I don't know what a different coach will do for this team. The roster makeup was bad from the get-go. We all knew the state the team was in post-LeBron James. They didn't do themselves any favor during the offseason by signing Kevin Love to a long-term deal. Yeah, go ahead and sign the guy who's been hurt every single year for the last 4 years to a long-term deal. That sounds like a great fucking move there. No, they're just stuck in the post-championship like shit show. It takes time to get out of there. You need to work through some contracts. You need to get some draft picks in. I don't see any reason to not have a player-friendly coach in there to develop talent unless he was refusing to play young talent. Like, that's all it comes down to for me.
Well, I mean, the thing, and I made the joke, obviously, in our text group of once Sean sent it to us. I was like, oh, well, they realized that he couldn't coach once LeBron was gone, and then because, LeBron was the head coach of that team. But I'm kind of on the same page as you of like, did you expect to compete this year?
Right, no.
Because we did not expect, unless you're Tristan Thompson and you're living in a la-la land fantasy world.
There you go.
You don't think that the Cavaliers are going to be a playoff team. And for me, I look at it and the only good that this can come from is that it's, you know what, we're just going to axe Tyronn Lue now because now for the whole year, we're going to be able to focus on, all right, who's our next coach going to be? And coaching candidates who need a job or might get fired this season or after the season are going to know this job is open.
Yeah, but why would you want that job?
Yeah.
Like, they're still paying their past three coaches. Like, remember the last coach they fired?
David Blatt.
Yeah, wasn't he like 33-11 or something?
They fired him, and then Tyronn Lue won the championship.
Yeah, quite a different state. And actually, the comments came out where that team wouldn't have won without Tyronn Lue out there. So, I mean, I'm sorry. Like, I'm an obvious criticizer of Tyronn Lue. I don't think he is a talented head coach, but I did think he was a player's coach. And having a player's coach in there when you're a bad, awful, terrible, just completely underwhelming basketball team, that's what you need. Because if you have a hard-ass coach in there, players are already demoralized. You're getting your ass kicked night in, night out. Nobody wants to play that way. So if you have a player's coach, at least you can have a decent locker room, a semblance. Like, you feel some level of positivity there. You got Channing Frye back in as basically like the locker room mentor to try to keep a steady ship. And instead, you get rid of the guy who was, basically everybody's best friend. It's just a total fuck up of a move.
For me, I am convinced that the first overall pick this year, when we get to the draft, will be the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm convinced that if they're not the number one pick, because of the new lottery rule, they're going to have the same odds. They're going to get the number one pick. Like, that's how I feel. They'll be top three. They'll win air quotes because
it's the post LeBron James.
And I feel like they're going to be gifted the number one pick, which will probably be R.J. Barrett. But here's a question I want to flip to, because with this, like, the reaction to it, it's why did you do it?
And why now?
Do you think
he deserved to get fired?
No. And the reason why is circling back to what I just said. Did you expect to be better than this? We'll take the same approach you took with the Wet Boys segment of, look who you played. Toronto at Toronto.
Yeah, you weren't going to win that.
Minnesota is bad, but they're still better than you.
They're good, actually.
They're not terrible. They're not
they've got talented players.
Exactly. Then you have Atlanta, who's an up-and-coming team. Maybe you should have been able to beat Atlanta, but 100%. Brooklyn's playing well right now. Detroit's a top team. The Pacers are a good team. And then you play Denver. I know the Denver one was post-Tyronn Lue. But everything before that, maybe the games you should have won is maybe one against Atlanta, which you then did do once you fired Tyronn Lue. But now it just seems like, okay, you won that one, and now you're back to losing one, maybe two, depending on if the score holds with them and Charlotte. Here's the thing I want to throw out, and the whole thing is who should be the next coach. I want to get this guy out of the way because I feel like his name is going to be brought up ad nauseum. How would you feel if we got to next year and Rick Pitino was the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers? Because he has said he wants to try to come back to the NBA, obviously because of everything that went down at Louisville, and he's not going to get a college head coaching
Can you remind us what happened to him at Louisville?
So it was, they had recruits coming in, and the player or the assistant coach, I should say, or the graduate assistant, basically got on prostitutes.
Yeah.
And he tried to pull the whole like, oh, I didn't know what was going on. But like Brandon on the Primetime Podcast even said, you're the head coach. You know what's going on. You keep a tab on everything. You either do know or you should have known what was going on. So that's basically why he's not going to get a college coaching job. How'd you feel if he became an NBA coach? And would he fit with the Cleveland Cavaliers, making the jump from college to the NBA?
I think he can make the jump from college to NBA, and I think a team like this in such a really bad state, not a bad place for him to start. I mean, you're going to walk in with, I would assume, low expectation, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Cleveland Cavaliers as an organization believe that they're, a winning team still somehow, and that's why they fired Tyronn Lue. They won't put up with this losing bullshit. So I would say it's a good fit for him. I think that if they do what I would expect them to do this offseason, or this season and offseason, which is make some trades, move out some people, take on some bad contracts, and pick up some draft picks, then look, you're going to be a ex-college coach with a young team that's responsive to your style of coaching, and you've been successful in the past coaching young talent. Why not? Like that one sort of makes sense. But if they try to continue win now, no, he's the wrong guy for this team, 100%.
And the thing that I like most, looking at more of maybe like a X's and O's kind of a thing, is who did you just draft last year in the draft?
The wrong player.
Not the wrong player, but
it was the wrong player.
Just say like
Colin Sexton.
So you've got Colin Sexton. You have your
Sorry,
point guard.
I'm rough on Colin Sexton.
If you're the number, but the thing I'm going at is the position that he plays. He's a point guard who can handle the ball. Then this year, let's say you get the number 1 pick. No matter which dookie you take, more likely people are thinking either R.J. Barrett or Zion Williamson. I'm going to go R.J. Barrett. So you get a wing player that you can pair with Colin Sexton, and you've got a stretch 4 player. You've got your veteran player in Kevin Love. The thing that Rick Pitino, I think, would be, this NBA would be beneficial, because I know people are going to say, well, Ricky was in the NBA eons ago, and look at what he did there. This is a different NBA. Like, the fast pace that he was running at Louisville, the get the ball handlers, get it down, the Peyton Silva Louisville days, like lock you down on defense, rush the ball, and play up tempo.
It's a shame he doesn't have someone like a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander they could have taken at number 8 overall.
There are many different options, or even one option you could have taken over.
I'm just saying,
Colin Sexton, but I mean,
would have fit that nicely.
I do think that with Rick Pitino, it's intriguing for the Cavaliers because of you've got your point guard. If you get a top 3 pick, if you get the number 1 pick, you can pair him up with a wing. Rick Pitino can get this team. He can be that working with young players coach that we're like, well, why didn't you have Tyronn Lue kind of still be there to be the guy to work with the young players, and have that guy that understands, hey, we can push the tempo on offense and kind of fit into what the NBA is going right now. The only thing that I think people are going to get what's the word I'm looking for? A little, not confused, but wrongly compare him to is I would hate if people go, oh, well, look, it's working for Boston. They took a good coach from college, and look at what he's doing. Don't expect Brad Stevens levels out of Rick Pitino. Just because he's a high-name coach from college going to be maybe coming to the NBA.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is you can't compare anyone to Brad Stevens. His level of success, his perfect pairing of himself and one of the best GMs in the league. Like, you can't replicate what he's been able to do on the court, because you won't get the front office support and success that you had on that team. What you're walking into with Cleveland is, again, a shit show. Like, you have horrible team chemistry. You have a bunch of interesting role players. None of them, are really amazing. Like Cedi Osman, Rodney Hood, maybe. Nance, you gave a contract to. Interesting call. And then a bunch of over-the-hill guys. So, I don't know. Like, I think that Brad Stevens, obviously, given the best circumstances, but he's also coached his ass off and done an amazing job. And that Celtics team is one of the top in the East for that reason. But, no, I think you put Rick Pitino on this team, and you have a GM/owner who are at odds with Cleveland in general. So, like, success is going to be hard for this team. I'm just going to put it that way. Success will be hard for them to find.
And that's exactly why. It's the owner. You mentioned him. That's another thing of any of these coaches that's going to be interesting. How many will go, no, I don't want to work for that. Like, I don't want to work for that owner because of, like, you look at Tyronn Lue specifically.
Yep.
Comes in 3 years ago, wins them a title, helps them win a title. LeBron James won them that. Well, technically Kyrie did because he hit that shot, but without LeBron James, you're not even in that situation. Like, LeBron James won you that title.
Yes, he did.
But Tyronn Lue, like you said, there are people on that team have said, without Tyronn Lue, we might not even get there if David Blatt was our head coach. And after 2 seasons, this would be the third, he gets fired.
Yep.
After winning that championship. I got another name I just want to throw out and let me think what you think of this. Mark Jackson.
Mark Jackson.
How would you feel if Mark Jackson
Not what I expected you to say.
No, I think he'd be phenomenal. I think he'd be the perfect fit for this because he would be what we were talking about with Rick Pitino working with young players, like Tyronn Lue working with young players. I hate to put Mark Jackson in this box. I hate to compare Cleveland to this because they hate this team.
Yeah. Mark
Jackson helped the Warriors become who they are today. The Warriors are not who they are.
Or did he hold the Warriors back from being who they really were?
Half and half.
Because
half and half.
We didn't see the success out of that team until he was removed.
Here's what I believe with that. Mark Jackson developed the players. Steve Kerr brought out, like, after they had been developed.
Draymond Green was a nothing on Mark Jackson's team.
They weren't going to be the best team with Mark Jackson. That's obviously why they made the move. And I don't think Mark Jackson makes the Cavaliers a championship contender.
He's a competent coach, though.
Mark Jackson could be a competent coach who gets you through these young days. Think of these days in Cleveland. I'm going to do an old adage that is a fast break of compared to the Bulls.
Yeah.
You're in the Elton Brand days. Again, well, the LeBron James days after he left, but this time I'm just going to say the Elton Brand days of, like, we were not good after Elton Brand. You're just going to get through it, and Mark Jackson could be a guy that helps you get through it.
Yeah.
Work with these players now, and then that next coach, you hit on that next one, and he brings out the final form and the full potential of this team.
That's ideal situation. But, I mean, you say young team, and I go, okay, so Channing Frye, Kyle Korver, J.R. Smith,
and after
George Hill.
After the moves, that, like, when I think young team, the only pieces I'm thinking right now, Colin Sexton, Kevin Love. Everything else is movable to
Kevin Love.
Everything else is movable.
I think Kevin Love's contract is a detriment at this point.
If you can move Kevin Love,
I think no one wants Kevin Love right now.
And I'm not looking to move him. He's the guy that I feel like I have my veteran presence. I don't need to get rid of him. Like Tristan Thompson, J.R. Smith, George Hill, Rodney Hood.
Gotta call him your Al Horford and build around him.
Exactly. Just ship him out. Get these contracts away. Maybe take on some veteran. Like, if you're going to take on a veteran or a bad contract, make sure that's going to be a veteran that.
No, you got to pick with it.
You'll get a pick, but also that it's not going to be like a cancer to your team.
Well, you try not to do that to yourself.
You're like, in general, you try not to do that.
I mean, if you have to take on someone like that, you eat the contract, you accept the pick, and you cut the player, and you just eat the contract again. So. No big deal there. But yeah, I think that he could be a competent head coach, and he could easily fill in for this team. I mean, I always go back to, like, getting Stan Van back on the team. Do you
think he would work with the Cavaliers?
I want to see him work with the Cavaliers front office.
Which Van Gundy?
I think that would be the entertaining thing. Like, I don't even care about the team at that point. I'm just looking for entertainment on ESPN.
Which Van Gundy would be better, Jeff or Stan?
Entertainment Stan. I'm taking Stan Van all day, baby.
Like, that's a Van Gundian rant.
Like, Jeff's okay, but Jeff's mellowed in his later life. Stan Van.
Yeah.
He has a passion and a fire to him.
And then he signed Dwight to be the 5.
He would be so angry at this team. He'd be screaming up and down the sidelines. Like, that's how you change the morale of the team. Look at what's happening right now in Detroit. That team is responding to a competent head coach because Stan Van told him, oh, you thought it was bad before? I will show you how bad this team can be. I will show you how bad this team can be. I can show you how bad this locker room can be. I will drag this team down.
You need guys to trade veteran players. You need guys to make trades. Stan Van will make your trades.
He will form a fucking wall.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Stan Van, he can bring that to the table. And look, they're profiting off of Blake Griffin being on that team. Were they going to be a bad team? I don't know. I mean, they had some interesting pieces, but they had a key injury last year. So I don't want to hold it all against him that Reggie was hurt. But right now this season, you're seeing a probably a top 10 player in Blake Griffin right now. Like he's playing like a top 10 player in the league, just shooting at an incredible rate. All the efforts there. Looks fantastic. Drummond, obviously outside of the Embiid game, has looked fairly good, passing a low post and at least attempting a three every once in a while to keep people honest. So now, like, they have a good team moving forward because of him. Yes, he also shot them in the foot several times, and had, his mark has been made. I'll put it like that.
I think it'd be funny if he'd be a good thing.
I don't know if it'd be a good thing, but I think in the long run it could help the Cavs out.
And I mean, I'm going through now, like...
Everyone wants Ettore Messina in there because, like, why not? But he ain't going anywhere. He's got the Spurs job locked up.
He'll wait until Pop leaves.
Yeah.
Here, I've got two.
Sure.
I think one would be interesting.
Sure.
The other one I could maybe see happening. I'll go with the interesting one first.
Of course.
Avery Johnson. Right now at Alabama, doing a really good job at Alabama. Were they a tournament team last year? No. They were on the cusp. They win a game or two.
They were also
SEC.
riding someone's back.
Exactly. They had Colin Sexton, who was going
literally
insane.
Yeah.
Why not pair him up with Colin Sexton again? The whole thing that's the what's the MacGuffin in this is, does he want to go to the NBA, or is he fine being at Alabama?
He had such a terrible fucking run in the NBA
because he was with the Mavericks.
Yeah.
I would think Avery Johnson is like, hey, thanks but no thanks. I'm fine being here.
I think he needs some time in college.
He's got a really good recruiting class coming in this year.
Yeah.
And they are excited about that. The other one I see around, and I don't know how I feel about this one, Monty Williams. Because people are saying, like, oh, you know what? Well, he's with the Sixers right now as an assistant coach. Many people are saying, well, they think that's because, well, Brett Brown will be gone soon. Monty Williams will then take that job or be offered that job.
Right.
But what would you feel? Because this is a guy that, with New Orleans from 2010 to 2015, he had 46 wins, 21 wins, 27, 34, and then 45. Where he made the playoffs that first year and the last year, both being exited in the first round, losing 2-4 in 2011, getting swept in 2015. How would you feel about Monty Williams being the head coach of the Cavs?
I don't love it. At the same time, that New Orleans team didn't do themselves any favors during that time period for him. Like, the team construct was kind of rough. Like, you had Anthony Davis, obviously. But then, working around that, and then,
He didn't have, like, Boogie Cousins on that team. He didn't have Rajon Rondo on that team.
They were missing pieces. He didn't do a bad job, per se, but he also didn't do a great job. I don't know. I'm very neutral on Monty. Like, I think he's a good person, decent coach. I don't know that I would put him out there as the head coach of this team. I think you go for... honestly, like, the Rick Pitino thing is the flashy one. I think that'd be fun. Or I think you go, I like the Mark Jackson route. I think you go for an established coach. I don't want to go back for someone who... One
that we know he's a competent head coach.
Right. I don't want to have someone who had recently struggled. Like, I don't want to go in and try to grab someone off the top of the script and be like, oh, well, they just did you wrong. I'm going to make sure things go right for you.
Here's the thing I'm going to throw out, and this is kind of going to be me, seen as me coming to the defense of Monty Williams.
Yeah.
However, I'm going to be on record saying I don't know about Monty Williams. In my gut...
Sure.
If I was Gilbert, I'd be sitting there going, I'm not sold on this one. I'm probably not going to make the hire. But in his last 2 years, the thing I want to throw out there is 2013, 2014, they had just signed Drew Holiday. He only played 34 games that year.
Yeah.
Then the year he got fired, Drew Holiday only played 40 games that year. and was not the Drew Holiday that we've seen now, has played 67 games 2 years ago, 81 games last year.
Yeah.
If he had that Drew Holiday, maybe he keeps his job. Maybe that's a different Pelican team.
Entirely different,
didn't have the same Drew Holiday is what I'm saying.
But he couldn't win with AD.
Exactly.
Which is the biggest knock.
And you can't win with one player anymore unless it's like LeBron, but you got some pieces of LeBron that gets you
That's
places.
the question, but you were in... So that's always what it's going to come back to. I don't know. I think that for me, I just look at Monty as like, I don't know enough about what he could do with this team. I look at the team makeup and I look at what he's done with similar guys in the past. He has no one as talented as Anthony Davis on this team, on this Cavaliers team. So like, can you win on a team of role players? Like, I would actually go back and be like, so who was on that Atlanta Hawks coaching tree? Winning with role players. Who is under Budenholzer? Give me somebody from that group, because that's the kind of guy you would want right now. Like, look at the change. Here, I'm gonna twist this. I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
Did the Cleveland Cavaliers screw up by not changing head coaches this offseason when many great head coaches were available?
Exactly. No, this is Cleveland, Browns, Cavaliers, the same effing thing. The same effing thing. If you were gonna make like the Cavaliers, we didn't think about this because their coach didn't go 0-16. But like, I'm going to compare it to the NFL. Your coach went 0-16. If you were going to fire him before the draft, before moves had to be made, and then maybe they don't make what you think is the wrong choice in Colin Sexton. Like, this is what baffles me. If you are going to fire a guy or have an inkling that, hey, if we don't start off right, we're going to fire the guy, fire him in the offseason, go to get somebody like...
You had Dwayne Casey out there.
Exactly.
You had Mike Budenholzer out there.
Dwayne Casey on this team, would he go to the playoffs? No. But he would be, all right, we can get him the pieces. And veteran players would want to come and play for him.
Raptors, the deepest team in the league.
Exactly.
Playing team basketball.
I'm going to take it back to, this is what Colin Cowherd said this week when he was talking about the Hugh Jackson firing.
Yeah.
He said he was talking to Jimmy Johnson before the NFL games. And Jimmy Johnson said... He always believes you don't fire someone unless you have somebody in mind, like somebody lined up to take that job.
Yeah.
We'll see if the Cavaliers have someone lined up, because a lot of I feel like we're not giving respect to Larry Drew, but he's not going to be the head coach. I'm going to say right now, I am going to go on the record, much like Sean would. Sean, I'm going to act like you for a second. He's not going to be the head coach. I will make that claim right now, November 3rd,
they wouldn't pay him
2018.
He's asked for the money. He wants the respect and title of head coach.
They won't give it to him. There's no way he becomes the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Not after the end of this year. He has probably from now until year end. He's going to do everything he can for this team, but you think that he will not be rewarded with a head coaching stint?
I don't think so. They will go They will go with a Rick Pitino. They will go with somebody else over Mark Jackson. And the last thing I want to add about Monty Williams, which is interesting, obviously the year he got fired, the year he got swept in the first round, he only ran into the Golden State Warriors. No biggie in that.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is when he lost 4 games, he lost in 6 basically, to the LA Lakers in 2010, 2011. Do you want to know who was on that Laker team? Or do you know off the top of your head? I mean, Ron Artest was on that team. Matt Barnes, Steve Blake.
That was the corner
Kobe
3
Bryant,
Ron Artest, yeah.
Bynum was on that team. Derek Fisher, Paul Gasol, Lamar Odom. Yeah, that Laker team. Luke Walton was on that team.
He was wide open in the corner.
That team was pretty good. Like, they weren't amazing. Obviously, they lost to Dallas, but many thought they were going to beat Dallas.
Yeah, that was an upset.
Many were hoping for, because that was the year Chicago MVP Derrick Rose season. Derrick Rose was Chicago, Miami, meeting in the Eastern Conference, going to have a good one.
Yep.
And then the Bulls didn't show up. And then many thought it was going to be, we're hoping, Kobe LeBron. Let's see it in the finals.
Make it happen,
the Mavericks
baby.
The Mavericks
got in that year. And before, obviously, LeBron had missed out on the finals because Dwight Howard.
Because he let Orlando go ahead and beat him. But hey, Kobe got a ring for that. Kobe got a ring for playing Dwight Howard in the finals. This is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think. Who should be the next coach of the Cavaliers? What do you think of the firing for Ty Lue? Let us know what you think down below in the comment section.